Today we're 100%ing Pokemon Sword and Shield, but not the regular Switch version that you might be thinking of. No, it's called Pokemon Sword and Shield Ultimate, which is a ROM hack that has remade the entire Galar region in GBA format. And every single Pokemon up until Generation 8, of course, is available. So if you've ever wanted to play Pokemon Sword and Shield on your Game Boy, this is the perfect game for you. Now we're going to have a couple of challenges I need to complete, mainly finish the entire Pokédex, defeat all 3 different Pokemon tournaments so I can become the best Pokemon trainer alive, but we're also going to get a Pokemon to level 100 and capture a shiny. So without any further ado, let's become the most legendary trainer the Galar region has ever seen. In this game, you don't get greeted by a professor, you get greeted by the richest person in the entire Pokemon universe, Chairman Rose. After picking your very beautifully sprited character, you get into the intro. 2 incredibly strong trainers, Leon and Raihan, are going at it in the Pokemon Championship Finals. That's where we're trying to get to. But of course, we have to start our adventure first. We're sitting in our room, and the moment you head downstairs, you get free EV items as well as an old rod. These immediately unlock fishing and checking your Pokemon's IVs and EVs for you. As we head outside, we run into Hop and his Wooloo. He's our childhood friend, but just before we can start talking to each other, we hear a noise coming from the left of us. It's a weird looking Wooloo that's trying to get into this fenced off area. We disregard it at it being just a little bit silly, and then we start walking down the road together where we run into his brother, the champion Leon, who's saying goodbye to his fans because he has something very important to do, giving us our starter. We get the choice between Sobble, Scorbunny, and Grookey. I'm personally a pretty big football fan, so I go with the Fire Striker and name him after my favorite player of all time, Ibrahimovic. But before we go loose into the wild world of Pokemon, we have to fight Hop and defeat his level 2 Wooloo and Grookey. This was mainly just me spamming growls and tackles so that I could come out on top to gain some experience to reach level 6 and 7 immediately. But first, I have to tell you about today's sponsor, Zenmarket, who we have been partnered with a couple of times in the past now, and I'm absolutely in love with these guys. They allow you to buy items from over 10,000 Japanese stores, like the Pokemon Center of Japan, where you can get a lot of different things compared to the one in the USA or London. But how do you actually do this, you may ask? Well, you have to find and purchase the item you want. I personally went for these Swampert plushies that you can't get anywhere else, and then you copy the item link, paste it into the Zenmarket search bar, or you can also search the product you want by name. And this will allow you to shop in stores that aren't even integrated into the Zenmarket website. You can then store your package for 60 days in case you want to buy more in the long run, and this will also save you a lot of money on shipping fees. They provide over 19 languages and have great customer service, so everything always runs smoothly for you. They make sure your items are always well packaged so they don't sustain any damage while being shipped, and they do actually have integrated stores within their website like Rakuten, Amazon Japan, Mercury, and so much more. They are also trusted by over 2 million users worldwide because of their many shipping and payment options. And we'll also throw in a free 1000 ZenPoints Sign-up bonus by using code ZWIGGO. So if you ever need something from Japan but don't want to go there, definitely check out Zenmarket. And with that out of the way, let's jump right back into the video. After the battle, we hear a big bonk somewhere in the distance, and we immediately think about the Wooloo we saw earlier. So we head over there and see that the fence is broken and the Wooloo is gone. So we go after it to see if it's okay, but the only thing we find is some foggy woods. And on top of that, eerie noises play all around, like there's a wolf howling in the distance. When me and Hop get separated, I eventually run into a wolf-like creature that kind of looks like a legendary. And it not only challenges me to a battle, but also destroys my little rabbit. Hop is surprised to see that we couldn't hit the Pokemon, but then Leon comes along and says that he already found the Wooloo. We try to explain what happened, but he says it's just the fog messing with our heads, so we head out of there and go to Route 1. Here's where we meet our first trade partner. There's going to be one of these for each and every starter around the map, and you just trade a Pokemon of their liking with them, and boom, you get the starter that they're offering. For example, this one wants an Eevee for a Piplup. We arrive in Wedgehurst straight after, grab a couple of Pokeballs there because we'll be needing a lot of those. We see another trade for Chikorita here, and then we head inside of Sonia's lab. She's the professor's assistant and daughter, and she has a nifty bit of tech for me, the Rotom phone. smartphone with a built-in Pokédex and the ability to scroll on YouTube Shorts any day of the week. She also hands me some Pokeballs and tells me to go and look for the professor. But before doing so, I head to Route 1 and capture everything we can find there. It's also very easy to see if you've missed Pokemon, as this game has an implemented DexNav to search for a specific Pokemon on each route. I of course grab a ton of early game Pokemon like Squavit, Nickit, Blipbug, Hoothoot, Caterpie, Rookidee, before heading back to the Pokemon Center and seeing that they have shops there for your regular items, but also for TMs, which is very useful. On Route 2, we capture more Pokemon like Galarian Zigzagoon, Seedot, Yamper, Lotad, Chewtle, and Purloin, and also did our very first evolution, Caterpie, into Metapod at level 7. We can do another trade here, our Carkol for a Cyndaquil, which we will be coming back for later. I also want to point out that the graphics in this game really make the world feel more alive, with the Pokemon flying around and them just walking around in the overworld. Eventually, me and Hop find Professor Magnolia's house, and they explain the phenomenon that is Dynamaxing to me. Pokemon basically become very big, gain a lot of HP, and their moves change. Not a big fan of this myself, but let me know in the comments down below what your least favorite Pokemon gimmick is. Leon also wants to endorse us to start the Pokemon League challenge, but he wants to see how strong we've already become on such a short notice, so we battle Hop one more time. This time was even easier than the last. We double kick the sheep and Ember the monkey, and boom, we're endorsed and on our path to becoming the best trainer we could ever become. At that very moment, 2 wishing stars also come crashing down, which allow your Pokemon to Dynamax, so we get our Dynamax band from the professor and unlock that as well. Now it's time for us to head back to Wedgehurst Station and check out the wild area, this big open field where hundreds of different Pokemon reside. When you run out of the station, you get greeted by 4 merchants. One of them sells berries, and the other 3 power items, ability pills, and Pokeballs. Once you enter the wild area itself, you can immediately see some people standing around. These will tell you which Pokemon are in which area, because there's multiple of them. We also come in contact with infinite berry trees, and when I say infinite, I mean infinite. You can keep talking to these and they will keep giving you berries. Last major thing for here now is the raid dens that you can challenge, but you're probably way too low level to beat the Pokemon at this point. Once I was done exploring, I decided to capture every Pokemon in the first area. These consisted of Ghastlies, Eevees, Bonsly, Dottler, Gossifleur, Giraffaric, and I even did 3 evolutions, Butterfree, Dottler, and Raboot. After this, I sadly enough ran out of Pokeballs and didn't have any money left, so I had to go to the beating heart of the Galar region, Motostoke. Here I found out about the Corviknight flying business. You can go to any town and each one will have a bird there that you can fly to any destination you want to get to. I found more people wanting to do trades and got myself a Piplup, but also a free Rockruff. Then me and Hop go to Motostoke Stadium to register ourselves for the gym challenge. Once we're done there, we get sent to a hotel to get some nice sleep, only to get harassed by a gang of football fans. They call themselves Team Yell, and they aren't the biggest fan of our football star Raboot, so me and Hop defeat all of them in consecutive Pokemon battles, but then their boss Marnie shows up and tells them to get out of here because they're just being annoying to everybody in this hotel. We then get a good night's rest, and the next day Chairman Rose introduces us to all of the gym leaders and other challenges, and once the ceremony is over, we can go back to exploring. We go inside of one of the houses here and find last Bianca with her Mega Altaria. If you somehow defeat her, you get access to Mega Evolution, but unfortunately my Pokemon are not strong enough yet. So we head to Route 3 straight away and manhandle Hop's team without much effort like earlier. Our paths part once again, so it's time for me to capture some more Pokemon on this route. Pancham got added to the decks, Klink, Sizzlypede, Machop, and Cherubi, as well as some others. Our Piplup then evolved into a Primplup, and we also found a weird looking cave area that led to this spring filled with Alolan Pokemon. But we didn't have enough Pokeballs to capture all of these, so we had to head further in to defeat more trainers and grind more money. This led us to the Galar Mine, where we found a ton of cool Pokemon and even crystals, but none of them I could capture, so instead we had to battle our second rival, Bede. a guy that's incredibly jealous because we got endorsed by the champion. He just had a team of 3 psychic types that absolutely got kicked in the face by flame charges, and once he's defeated, he gets really salty and says that he let me win and that next time he won't go easy on us. But before there is a next time, we have to go to Turffield, meet up with Hop, who then tells us that Sonia is looking for us. She's waiting by this big hill with a weird painting on it and explains about the darkest day that nearly destroyed the Galar region all those years ago. She thinks this might have something to do with Dynamaxing and is going to look further into it. But that's none of our concern right now because we just had a new batch of Pokeballs, so we go back to the mine, grab Carkol, Roly-Coly, Noibat, and even do a fishing encounter in Stunfisk. We then head back to Turffield and enter the stadium to fight our very first gym leader Milo, but not before doing the puzzle there. You just need to put some string boulders on pressure plates and boom, the next path will open until you eventually reach the leader. The battle against Farmer Milo is incredibly easy as my fire type just scorches through his grass types. And Dynamax always helps with this too, because Flame Charge becomes a bit stronger. With our first badge in hand, I head back to Route 4 to grab more Pokemon like Pumpkaboo, Galarian Meowth, and Milcery. Before going to our next destination, I first backtrack to the wild area again, because we have more Pokeballs so we can check out more of the side areas that are there. One of them was this foresty looking area with a ton of bug types, but also Pokemon like Sudowoodo and Coughing could be found here. On the other side, however, it was like Baby Park from Mario Kart. You had Pokemon like Elekid, Munchlax, Togepi, Kecleon, and Electrike. Once I was done here, I headed back to do some more trades, getting myself a Trico and Cyndaquil by giving away Carkol and Eldegoss. I also managed to defeat that Mega Altaria I was talking about earlier by burning it with Raboot, and this of course gave me my Mega Ring, which is actually pretty cool to see because normally in Sword and Shield you can only use Dynamax. In this game you can even use Z-moves if you want. I can then continue my gym challenge by going to Route 5 where not only the daycare is but also a lot of new encounters, like some scientists and Team Yell members that I decide to beat up, which gets me my very own free bike. But this wasn't the only battle I did here, as at the end of the bridge Hop was already waiting for me. He does have some evolutions with Corvusquire and Thwackey in his team now, but nothing my level 30 Raboot can't flame charge. At the end of the battle we even get 2 evolutions done, Dreadnought and Grovyle, but after this I realize I'm broke yet again, so I sell my entire inventory and spend it all on balls. In Hulbury we see Chairman Rose talking to Bede and his assistant. He's apparently endorsed Bede and is doing everything in his power so that he can become champion himself. After Bede leaves the conversation, the chairman spots me and tells me that if we can manage to get this next gym badge from Nessa, he'll treat us for a good dinner at the best restaurant around. And I love myself some good meat, so I'm going to grab a Wagyu steak when we're done with it. But first I go and trade my Dreadnought for Totodile, and then finally enter the gym where you have to talk to Pokeball statues with different colors in order to make waterfalls appear and disappear. Once you completed the puzzle, we see the trainer that most people sim for, but not me because we'll be destroying her. And for the first time in forever, my Raboot won't be doing the work here, it's my Grovyle who's going to be shining like a star, as he uses Mega Drain and his Dynamax Max Overgrowth to take down Goldeen, Arrokuda, and Dreadnought in a jiffy. And so we grabbed our second gym badge and headed straight outside, not to go to the restaurant yet, but to grab more Pokemon. We found Pampor and Horsey while fishing and also grabbed everything else on the round from Applin to Farfetch'd. We then go to the restaurant, finally get our steak and talk about some Dynamax stuff that nobody really cares about. The second Galar mine was our next destination though, but we get stopped before we can start exploring by Bede again. Not really any upgrades right now except for a Galarian Ponyta, so we use our Flamon with Raboot and turn into the Human Torch of the Fantastic Four to blow him out of this cave. Most Pokemon in this cave we already had, but there were a couple we could still fish up like Magikarp and Wimpod. Like usual, Team Yell is trying to sabotage our gym challenge, so we put him headfirst into the ground and put their asses on fire. This caused my Raboot to laugh so hard that it evolved into a Cinderace. And a little later in the cave we see the next gym leader Kabu beating up some more Team Yell members, and he encourages us to come to his gym as fast as possible. So me and Hob decide to race over there, but as always I get distracted by 2 people who wanted to trade me a Turtwig and a Torchic. I already got the Torchic because I already have Diglett, but for the other one I needed a double, which I'm still working on. We then went back to the Alolan Spring to grab every Pokemon there, from Alolan Raichu to Alolan Grimer and even Ditto. And after finding the 1% encounter Grubbin here as well, we finally headed to the next gym challenge. First, you have to capture an Alolan Marowak here. He then holds a key card that you have to give to the Warden to unlock the battle with Kabu. At this point in time, this is definitely the hardest challenge we've faced. His Ninetales is not that much work, just a couple of double kicks, but then he brings in Arcanine and swaps it out immediately for Scorch, getting the Intimidate off on me, which meant that I needed more than just 3 Dynamax Max Flares and a Pyro Ball to take out his Gigantamax Scorch. When Arcanine came back out, I tried a couple of my other Pokemon to take him on, but ultimately I had to bring out Cinderace again to double kick it and win my 3rd badge. This unlocked more spots in the wild area for us. Now we have this entire plateau where we can find Miltanks, Throws, Socks, and even Mandibus and Howlucha. And if you go a little bit further, there's an area with Dreepies. Inside of this area, there's also a guy with a Corviknight that will fly you to some Icelands, where in the snow you can find every ice Pokemon you may need. The entrance to Hammerlocke is unfortunately blocked off by a police officer, but we show him our badge and he's about to let us through before Bede shows up. He says that he gave Hop a good beat down not too long ago, and now he's on his way to a meeting with Chairman Rose. We follow in his footsteps and learn that he's not only supposed to become champion, but Rose also wants him to collect as many wishing stars as possible because they have built a power plant underneath this gym here that powers the entirety of Galar. I bet that's not risky at all and is not going to drive all of these people here mad. Anyway, we meet up with Leon and Rayhan, who then show me the way to the vault, where Sonia explains the entire story about 2 heroes that saved the day of this horrifying dark thunderstorm ages ago with the help of a rusted sword and shield. Again, I don't think this is foreshadowing at all. Let's just go and capture our Pokemon. That's what we're actually here to do. So I grabbed Dreepy, Scraggy, Mismagius, Magneton, Ursaring, and Emolga before heading to the icy parts, where I grab Sneasel and everything else that can freeze your toes off. I wanted to do some gambling so I can feed my Pokeball addiction, but I didn't have any money left. So I had to steal someone's Type Null and flee to Route 6, but we got stopped in our tracks by Team Yell. They are harassing a silly Cobra here, and we can't let them do that. So we let them pick on someone their own size as I throw out my Cinderace. Hop also decides to help out, but once we manage to scare them off, he gets pretty disappointed because he thinks that he's letting his big brother down by losing the bead. We cheer him up by saying that he is a bad trainer, but definitely not as bad as Bead. This didn't really make him feel better, so he runs away crying, and we just go by our day and capture some more Pokemon like Galarian Yamask, Silicobra, Heatmore, Maractus, and even Durant, considering we're in a desert. But after looking around in this area a little more, I found a construction site with a ladder that led to the Altering Cave. This cave is filled with fossil Pokemon. Literally every single one, from the latest one Dracovish all the way to the first one Kabuto. So I spent some time digging up the past before heading to my next destination, Stowe on site, where we see Hop again, and this time he wants to get his head straight by battling me. With a revamped team of Toxel, Silicobra, Cramorant, and Thwackey, he was absolutely no match for Cinderace's Pyro Ball. He might have lost, but he has more spirit than ever because he wants to get stronger to silence all of his and his brother's haters. A little further up, we see a lady that wants to trade a Meowth. I tried to give her one, but she doesn't want this one, and I will not stand for this Meowth slander. So instead, I head into the gym, where I have the option to either face Bee and her fighting types if I go right, or Alistair and his ghost types if I go left. Considering I've never played Pokemon Shield before, I decided to go with Alistair, and after completing his easy bike puzzle, we reached the room with the masked leader. Literally, as his first Pokemon is Yamask. Once that was defeated, he had a decent enough team with Cursula, who got Pyro Balled, Mimikyu, who took a couple of hits, and a Giga Gengar that will eat you alive. He was even able to defeat my Cinderace with a Max Phantasm, but my Surfage could come in clutch with a knockoff to win me my 4th gym badge. Only 4 more to go. When we head outside, we see Yamper and Sonia, who want to go and check out the ruins that are nearby. But we hear a big explosion coming from that place, so we head over there and see that Bede is trying to destroy it with a Copperajah. He for some reason thinks that there's wishing stars behind it, so we try to smack some sense into him with a battle, except for a couple evolutions his team is the exact same as the last time, so we just kick a couple of soccer balls at him and call up the chairman, who says to Beat,
"Why would you do this, you stupid child? I didn't endorse you for this. You have tainted my reputation and tried to destroy cultural property. You are going to jail, and you're never competing again."
A perfect punishment for such a delinquent. When they take off, however, the wall finally crumbles and a gold statue of 2 dogs and 2 heroes reveals itself. This means the heroes must have been accompanied by Pokemon, bringing us a step closer to uncovering the dark secret of Galar. For now though, we're going to be heading into the Glintstring Forest filled with fairy types. I'm talking Impidimp, Hatterene, Galarian, Weezing, and Ponyta, and so much more. We capture all of these and arrive in Balanlia. Here we find 2 people that want to give us a Rowlet and Litten, and once we do these trades, we head to the stadium where we get all the trainer cards from Marnie and do some quizzes to reach the leader, Opal. She says she loves the color pink and even specializes in it, even though her first 2 Pokemon, Weezing and Togekiss, aren't pink at all, so we kick him out of here and fight a birthday cake. I make my rabbit swallow that thing whole, kill our last Pokemon Mawile with a Max Flare, and head back outside with my 5th badge so that Opal can escort me back to Hammerlocke. Here we see Beat fresh out of jail, who's not given up on his Champion's Quest yet, but luckily Opal jumps in at the right time and drags him away because he's all pink and she wants him to be his replacement at the gym. Straight after, we go to Route 7 and meet up with Hop again, who's become a lot stronger since last time, with a buffed up Trevenant, Magmar, Boltund, Snorlax, and even Rillaboom. But by now you probably already guessed what's going to happen. We kick a fiery ball and use a couple of charges that use flames. And even though he lost, he now feels more alive than ever, really wanting to take his brother down and becoming the strongest trainer himself. Well, good luck on that, Hop, because you'll have to face me if you want to do it. And I have to face all of these Pokemon on this new route we just found. We lob our balls at Carablast, Shelmet, Morpeko, Toxel, and anything else that may pop its head out of the grass, as nothing is safe from my balls. We also do a couple more notable evolutions like Charmeleon and Frogadier before finding our way to Route 8. This is another deserty area, so you already know we're going to be capturing ground types here, but not only that, also some ghost types like Haunter. The other half of Route 8 consists of the total opposite of that desert, a snowy area. We already have most Pokemon here, but still grab a Delibird and 2 Snoruns for Glalie and Frostlass. This path then led us to Chichester, one of the most beautiful towns in this ROM hack and also in the regular Sword and Shield with its snowy aesthetic. We do our regular trades here, but also find that in the arena we once again get to choose between 2 gym leaders, Melanie or Gordy. I have never faced Melanie in my life, and this is an ice-type town, so I'll be going for her. In order to get to her, you have to traverse a maze with invisible traps. If you step on one of them, you get sent back to your last checkpoint, but with the memory of an Alakazam, I made it look like child's work and reached her in record time. And if you guessed this was the easiest battle so far, you were absolutely right. Cinderace swatted away her Frostmoth, shut down her Lapras's Melody, stomped down her Darmanitan, and melted Ice-Cube's head right off of its body. With our 6th gym badge under our belt, our Poplio evolved into a Brionne, and we headed back to the wild area as new areas have been unlocked. From new field areas to caves, I capture everything in sight. And when I'm done, I head back to Sonia and Hop, who says that they need 2 heroes in order to save the world, and Hop thinks that we can be those 2 heroes, so we show her how good we really are at battling each other. I mean, I'd say that I'm pretty good considering I wiped the floor with him once again. He just added a Pincurchin and took off a couple of his really good Pokemon. After my battle, Turtwig evolves into Groudle, Hop heads to Spikemuth, and Sonia is going back to the Slumbering Well to do some investigating. And if we want to reach Spikemuth too, we have to go through Route 9, and that means defeating some more Team Yell members that are blocking the road for the same scientist that we saved before. Only this time he gives us an even more useful reward, a bike that can ride on water. The only thing I know that remotely works like that is one of those animals you will sail across the lake with. I'm incredibly happy with this because now we can zoom across this lake and grab a ton of ice-type Pokemon like Dugong, Celio, and even an evolution into Charizard before reaching the other shore where there's a ton of water types for some reason. There's a Jellicent in the grass, Wishiwashi, Pincurchin, Kingler, all Pokemon Pokemon that should actually be in the water. But don't worry, because I saved all of them and put them in my box. We follow the rest of the route and reach Spikemuth, but it's being blocked off by people. Do we hear some kind of shady character around the corner saying that she can get me in, but we'll have to show her how strong we are first. Her entire team is filled with dark types, and you already know if you punt a dark type in the butt, they will automatically faint. So that's what I did, and as a reward, I didn't only get access to Spikemuth, I also got my Primarina evolution. We then head inside the slums of Galar, as they like to call it, and defeat all the criminals that reside here just to reach their boss, Pierce. Not only a musician that doesn't sing, but also this town's gym leader. He tried to attack me with his microphone, but that wasn't working. I threw out my Cinderace and defeated his Scrafty in one turn. Malamar, Skuntank, and later Obstagoon also bit the dust, but Obstagoon is actually one of my favorite Generation 8 Pokemon. I love how he resembles the guys from Kiss. We receive our 7th gym badge and a warning to stay away from Dynamaxed Pokemon, as Pierce is very much against them. And I guess his warning was actually right, because Pokemon start Dynamaxing all across the region, and me and Hop hear over the radio that his brother is fighting them in Hammerlocke. But by the time we get there, he's already had the situation under control and says that there is nothing to worry about. However, the professor and Sonia don't believe that and are going to look into it some more, because they might have found something very interesting. Before we know what they're up to, Leon encourages us to go and challenge our final gym leader. Rayhan, who had an easy gym puzzle, just defeat 3 trainers and walk up to his room. In regular Sword and Shield, this is a double battle, but unfortunately they didn't replicate that here, and he doesn't use his weather altering team all that much. I start off by letting his Gigalith crumble by using double kick. Then I make his Sandaconda eat a ball of fire. I max strike down his Flygon and max flare down his Duraludon, and boom, our final gym badge is ours. Just a couple more steps before we can challenge the almighty Leon. We head outside where Sonia and the professor congratulate me with getting all the gym badges, but we also need to congratulate Sonia because she's just gotten the title of actual professor, as Magnolia is retiring. But we have no time to celebrate because we need to catch a train with our friend Hop, which will take us to Route 10, yet another snowy part. This actually made me realize that there is quite a lot of snowy parts in Galar. After grabbing a Mawile and some ice cream, we head straight to Winden, where the Pokemon Championships will be held. So we waste no time and head straight to the arena for our very first battle. A rematch against Marnie, who gets totally blown out of here and even added a non-dark type to her team, Toxicroak. Despite that, not even her incredibly buff Grimmsnarl couldn't stand up to my rabbit. And with that win under our belts, our dearest rival Hop was next on the chopping block. His ultimate team consisted of Dubwool, Pincurchin, Corviknight, Snorlax, and Gigantamax Rillaboom. Not even 6 Pokemon, and he wants to become champion. I do not understand why he would not fill that last slot. He has a Trevenant in the back if he wants to. I guess he really wants my Cinderace to lift that Champions League trophy. And as we defeat him so close to his goal, he is happy that we're the ones who are going to go through. As we get outside of the arena, Leon congratulates us and even says that he had tears down his eyes while watching us battle, and he's not going to hold back when we inevitably face him. But before it's that time, we need to refill our energy at the hotel. But Pierce comes up to us and says that he saw the champion heading to Rose Tower, which makes no sense because we were gonna grab dinner with him first. So we go outside to investigate and hear that he's apparently being held there. And one of the Cosmos employees, the company of Mr. Rose, has the card key to enter, and he's going to hide himself throughout the town, and we have to chase him around and take it from him. After doing so, we get the help of Pierce and Team Yell to break into the tower together, where we are met with even more Cosmos grunts. On the top of the tower, me and Hop face his mad secretary Alina though. He does not want to be interrupted, and she is going to make sure that happens. And she starts out swinging with a G-Max Garbodor, who gets killed by a single Max Flare, setting up the sun for me. I then use 2 Max Knuckles on the incoming Milotic to boost my attack even more, and proceed to use Flame Charge charge to run through the rest of her team. We then walk up to the chairman and Leon, who are talking about the problem that the Galar region might not have a power supply thousands of years from now. And Chairman Rose wants to cancel tomorrow's match so that they can start doing something about it. But Leon doesn't understand why it needs to happen tomorrow. So he tells Rose that he's going to help him with his plans, but after the match. And this is not what Rose wanted. But that's when we show up and everything calms down and we all go back home to start that championship match tomorrow. But first, we have to defeat Bede, who wanted to make a big statement, then Nessa and her water-type team that was a pushover, and our final two opponents, Alistair and Rayhan, both got sent to the Shadow Realm. This gave me enough credit to finally challenge the champion Leon himself. As we look each other into the eyes, Leon says that he's incredibly proud of me and he even sees himself in me. But all of that is not enough for him to back down as his Charizard is ramping to fight. Just as we ready our Pokeballs, a screen pops up from the ceiling with Chairman Rose on it. He says that he's brought on the darkest day. He couldn't wait any longer to save Galar and he tries to explain to everyone what's happening. Dynamax Pokemon are going crazy everywhere and he's down at his power plant making it all happen, so we need to go and stop him. But first we need to go home to talk to Sonia, who knows that the darkest day can only be stopped by the Rusted Sword and Shield and their Pokemon counterparts. So we go back to the Slumbering Weld where we first encountered that wolf-like Pokemon, and after seeing a vision of them, we find the two items that we need. Hop decides to take one of the items as well, and together we go to the tower. Olina's already here and she asks me, begs me to save the region because Chairman Rose has apparently gone crazy, and this is not what she wanted for Galar at all. We head into the power plant and confront Rose, but he is not having any of it. He brought on the darkest day by giving wishing stars to Eternatus so that the region could have unlimited power supplies, and he can't let me interfere with that plan. But this guy clearly didn't do his research, as he loves steel types, and I love melting down those steel types with very hot balls. His Berserker, Magnezone, and even Big Ass Elephant couldn't stand up to me, and all melted into a pool of silver liquid. After the battle, he admits that he couldn't control the power of Eternatus, so he called on Leon to try and help, and they should be on the roof together with Hop trying to calm the beast down. So we join them up there, but unfortunately they're getting outmatched and outplayed. After he pathetically tries to lob a Pokeball at the big beast, we jump in as it breaks out, and Cinderace somehow takes it down with two double edges. Now, hoping that this entire Darkest Day thing is over, Eternatus starts going crazy and shoots up into the sky, turning into its G-Max hand form. That's when me and Hop stand there like two knights in shining armor with our sword and shield, summoning both Zacian and Zamazenta. Together we fight this big beast, and with the help of our entire team, eventually even take it down, weakening it enough so that I could capture it myself, as we save the entire region, maybe even world, and Zacian and Zamazenta disappear into the horizon. A couple of days later, everything is back to normal and we can start our championship match against Leon. We've both been waiting for this moment for a very long time and are going at it head to head, as I use his biggest kryptonite, Eternatus, against him, melting down his Aegislash with Flamethrower and doing decent damage with Dynamax Cannon on Seismitoad. Luckily, Ibrahimovic can kick the Toad back to the swamp, kill Dragapult with a Max Flare, and use Max Knuckle and Max Strike to take down Haxorus, but this does mean I'm already run out of my Dynamax for this battle, and he still has his left. His Inteleon that has been training right by my side eventually takes out my starter, but I have a Max Revive in the bag because I know the rest of my Pokemon team is absolute garbage and they can't do anything here. So I send him back out and make him finish this thing off, as well as his Gigantamax Charizard with a couple of double edges, which eventually left me with 5 HP remaining. Leon then shows his gratitude for saving the region and tells him how proud of me he really is compared to his useless little brother Hop. And after registering into the Hall of Fame, it's time for the post game. and boy is there a lot of it. We got a ton of legendaries to capture as well as 2 DLCs to get through, so let's get started. I first go to the Slumbering Well where both Zacian and Zamazenta are now spawned. After spending some time spamming Pokeballs at them, I eventually captured both. I then went around the region and decided to get all the water type encounters I hadn't gotten yet because I have only gotten my bike recently. I then went to the Professor House to pick up my free Master Ball and then to Sonia's lab to get the train ticket to the Isle of Armor to unlock my first DLC place. I head to the train station but get ambushed by a Galarian Slowpoke first and also meet up with my rival for set DLC, Avery. Once we both board the train together and arrive at the Isle of Armor, we get greeted by our third and final co-student, Clara. She immediately starts squaring up to me and wants to head outside for a battle. I've never played any of the Sword and Shield DLC, so this is my first time actually experiencing them. And this girl seems to specialize in poison types, which is incredibly easy when you have the best poison type by your side, Eternatus. I Dynamax her all the way to the dojo where we're supposed to meet up, but we're not going there ourselves yet, as I want to go exploring, and I immediately find out that this DLC is incredibly big. There is so many different areas with Pokemon that you can't see in the main region, so I start capturing Pokemon in the beach and at the ocean, and eventually my type Null, who's been in my party for the majority of my playthrough, evolves into Sill Valley. After looking around some more, I find a beach area where a lot of bug types spawn, a cave area where I captured everything from a choke to Onyx, and as I was surfing I saw a giant Wailord laying in the water, which was an incredible sight to see. My journey eventually leads me to the dojo where Clara is talking to one of the workers here named Honey. She's kind of the lady of the house here, and she welcomes me as the new student. Clara has already been here for quite a while and wants to become a gym leader on the island. Unfortunately, she's quite hostile to me and doesn't want me to tell anything to Honey about what happened at the station, so we all head inside together and we get introduced to Honey's son, Hide, and also his father and her husband, Mustard, who is the master of the dojo. And the first thing he wants to know is how strong we are, so he starts battling me with a pretty weak team, which is kind of suspicious from a dojo master. Mienshao, Luxray, Kommo-o, and Lycanroc all get kicked out of here with Ibra, but after the battle is done, we immediately see that he wasn't going all out on us. But he's happy that we're so strong because now we can start our training. We'll be facing 3 trials here, and if we manage to do that, we will receive the secret armor of this dojo. But out of nowhere, Avery starts talking to Mustard, and the Slowpoke ends up stealing his outfit. But these Slowpoke are suspiciously fast, and that's the first trial. We have to go around and look in the swampy area to find 3 Slowpoke, and once they're defeated, we can come back here to start the second trial. So after searching around for a bit, we found all 3 and return. As a reward, we get to pick between a Squirtle and a Bulbasaur that can Gigantamax, and I decide to go with the more useful one, Bulbasaur. But these can only Gigantamax because of Max Mushrooms, and that's going to be our next task. Bring him some Max Mushrooms. So we head into a cave somewhere at the back of the island and find a couple of them somewhere deep in there. But just before we can bring them with us, Avery shows up and wants to steal them from me. I'm not going to let that happen, so he demands a Pokemon battle, and the one who comes out on top gets the mushrooms. And you know what that means. Not even 1 minute later and we're already back at the dojo with our haul. We're the first one to arrive, and they're going to make this into some nice mushroom stew, and after some time the other 2 challengers also show up with their max mushrooms. After a nice dinner on the sofa together, we get to know what the next trial is, and that's a knockout tournament between the 3 of us. We've already managed to defeat both of these trainers pretty easily in the past, so we're just going to do that again and show Mustard that we're the only one that deserves that Isle of Armor. And so I become the winner of the 3rd Master Dojo Challenge. We head back inside, congratulate everyone that participated, and throw a big party with at the end the reveal of the legendary Pokemon Kubfu, which is going to be my reward. Now Kubfu in itself needs a strong bond with its trainer to evolve into its final form, and that's going to be our next challenge. We need to show him around 3 beautiful places on the isle, and then he will be happy enough to hopefully eventually evolve. So we spent some time talking to some dojo people that show me around the island, which makes Kubfu incredibly happy. With a smile on our faces, we head back to the dojo and talk to Mustard. Now it's time to take on one of two towers, the Tower of Dark or the Tower of Water. One of them will turn Kubfu into Urshifu Rapid Strike and the other in Single Strike. I'm a big fan of the Water Surging Striking one, so I'll be going and taking on the Water Tower. Upon arrival there, we go through 5 floors of trainer battles. These were nothing to write home about, but the battle at the end is with the big man himself, Mustard. He has the same team as before, only this time he added in a Corviknight and a Kubfu, and upon defeating this old man, we get to know some pretty useful information. Leon was once a student here. He actually was the best student, but he never made it to any of the towers as he got lost along the way. I'm one of the only ones who's managed to do it, and as my reward for that, I get the Scroll of Water that I use to evolve Kubfu into my Urshifu. We then go back to the dojo and learn that our journey isn't over yet. No, we have to go and find 3 buildings with 3 different gym leaders that are too strong for the mainland, and we just have to go and defeat them. These buildings, however, were hidden in various places, and when you arrive there, you yet again had to complete a puzzle like this one, who was a spin tile puzzle, and at the end, just like in the main story, you get to enter the arena and battle the gym leader. I took all 3 of them down without much trouble and headed back to the dojo, where Mustard was already waiting for my coronation. There was only one more thing I had to do, one more battle without restrictions against the master himself. He's going to go all out against me in his battle arena at the back, and get ready to see what his ultimate team looks like. We start off by taking Mienshao out with Urshifu's counter. My legendary Zacian Moonblasts Como-O, while Eternatus flamethrowers his Steelbird Corviknight out of the sky. Luxray, Lycanroc, and his single strike, really cool looking G-Max Urshifu is also a 2-shot. I mean, what can I say? Not even the master of the dojo can stand up to the Pokemon that brought on the darkest day. With that, we have completed the entirety of the Isle of Armor except for one more challenge against his wife, Honey. She's a trainer herself and saw how good my skills were and wanted a piece of that. She, however, says that she isn't the best trainer around but has a reward if we manage to defeat her. And so I proceeded to one-shot every single one of her Pokemon, even her G-Max Venusaur. And what was my reward, you may ask? Well, the Crown Pass, which allows me to go into the final DLC area and the final area in the entirety of this Sword and Shield playthrough, the Crown Tundra. So we head over to the station and reach our destination in a matter of minutes. Upon heading outside, we see that this land is filled with snow and harsh weather. Upon walking down the path, we meet Peony and his child, who are having a weird conversation about weird Dynamax Pokemon. We of course want to know more about this, but Peony first needs a battle. And he seems to be the reincarnation of Chairman Rose because he loves steel types. His entire team is just built around them. He even has a Melmetal, which I thought was pretty cool. But as always, nothing my Cinderace can't bend into oblivion. After the battle, we learned that they're going after max lairs, which have a chance of spawning legendary Pokemon. Unfortunately, that's not something we're going to be checking out right now because we are going to be capturing every Pokemon around. Inside the grass here, we can find a couple of beauties like Weavile, Aurora, Snorlax, Trevenant, Abomasnow, and many more. And if you continue down the road we've been going to, we eventually reach the town here. We immediately meet the mayor, who is surprised to see that they have visitors and asks if we're here to learn about the King of Bountiful Harvest and tells me that if we want to know more, we should take a look at the statue of the king in the middle of town. But something seems to be missing, so we enter one of the homes and see that Peony has found a weird looking stone that he says is his pillow. I don't understand what this guy is on, but we're going to ask for the pillow bag because it might have something to do with a legendary Pokemon. So we take the crown from his table and put it on the statue. This spawns in a weird green looking beast. So we follow it to a back alley where it gets really aggressive and starts attacking me. I'm able to take it out rather quickly though, and then Peony shows up because he heard a big ruckus coming from here. But that's when something weird happens to Peony. He gets mind controlled by this beast that is called Calyrex. Unfortunately, he doesn't really want to talk to us and orders us to go and talk to the villagers to see if they remember him. And unfortunately, they barely do, which makes him think that if he had his loyal loyal steed, he would be back on top and everybody would love him again. So he orders me around to find more information about his steed. Maybe we can then summon it and he can tame it, and then we'll see what he's talking about. We enter the mayor's house, who has some more books about the bountiful Harvest King, and here we learn that he helped the people a long time ago with their crops and turned their carrots into icy root or shady root carrots. But there are different reports. Some people see him riding around on a black horse and some on a white one. With this information, we head back to Calyrex and tell him that his steeds used to love carrots. So our next plan of action is either going to the cemetery crops or to the icy crops to plant the seeds that we have so we can lure his steeds there. Before we head to these crops, I head to the next area, which is not covered in snow. It's more of a foresty plains area, but I immediately spot something weird. The entire area is filled with ultra wormholes, and that means we're going to be capturing every single ultra beast. I'm talking Nihilego, Buzzwole, Pheromosa, Xurkitree, Celesteela, Kartana, and all the other ones, but also some mythical Pokemon like Magearna, Marshadow, and Zeraora. Straight after we reach one of the crop fields, I decided to go with the cemetery one, and Calyrex shows up too. We plant the seeds, Calyrex makes them grow, and Spectre shows up in the distance but immediately flees to the town. Calyrex, however, is incredibly happy that his steed has arrived, and we go back to the statue to see that he's just standing there in front of it. However, he didn't want to be tamed, so we had to defeat him in a Pokemon battle, and as a reward, we get the R of Unity. This will allow Calyrex to tame Spectre and become one once again. In the meantime, he's already tracked down his loyal steed down to the Crown Shrine, so that's where he wants us to head next so we can try to tame it. So we go through more harsh environments and caves, capturing every Pokemon inside yet again until we reach the place. Once inside, Calyrex says that this was once his home and that his horse might actually come here to reminisce about the good old times, and he himself gets overwhelmed by emotions too. But we can't just be standing here, we have to hide and wait until the steed approaches. When this happens, Calyrex tries to jump on him and then tame him, but he's too weak. In this form, he's never going to be able to tame it, and so he thinks that his long forgotten story is going to stay forgotten. But there might be a way to reunite them after all, and that is if we both capture them. Yes, they might be under my control, but at least they can gain their former glory again. So we comply with his wish and catch both Pokemon to free Peony from his brain control and complete the story of the Crown Tundra. But we're not done with this place by far. We still have a ton of legendaries to catch, starting with Glacier, who will spawn if you enter this shrine again. Once the second steed is captured, it's time for me to check out Max Raid Dance, who only appear at a certain cave. You see, first you need to go through 3 stages of battling Dynamax Den Pokemon. Then at the end, you'll see this big red cloud, and a legendary will pop out of it. And this isn't just one legendary that you can capture, I'm talking almost every single one of them. The Legendary Burst, the Beast Trio, the Weather Trio, the Creation Trio, Zygarde, Lugia, Ho-Oh, everything is in here. And almost all the mythical Pokemon that we haven't captured yet, like Celebi and Mew, are in here too. So yeah, you can definitely say that I spent multiple hours in this room just completing the Dynamax dens over and over again, until I had captured everything inside. And you may think that our Sword and Shield journey ends here. Well, I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. There's still quite a few Pokemon that we haven't captured yet. And first upon this list is the Galarian Bird Trio, who spawn under this pink tree. But when you talk to them, they spread themselves out across the entire region. Articuno stays here in the Crown Tundra, and you can capture him somewhere across a lake. Moltres goes to the Isle of Armor near a beach, and Zapdos goes back to the wild area where you can capture him. After this, we head back to the Crown Tundra because there's 3 Reggie temples here. You need a Hardstone, Metal Coat, and Nevermelt Ice in your inventory if you want to enter these, and they all house one of the Reggies, either Regirock, Registeel, or Regice. Once you capture all 3 of these, you can then go to a different temple that leads you to Naval Rock, where the other 2 Reggies, Drago and Ilecki, will be. But my Regieleki was actually a shiny, and I managed to capture it, which is actually insane. Getting a shiny Pokemon so late into the run is already crazy, but it also being a legendary is even better, so I'll take it for sure. If you then go back to Balanlia, Meltan will spawn there, another mythical crossed off the list. I then went back to the wild area and checked out all the raid dens and captured every Pokemon I hadn't found yet. Once everything that I missed was captured, I had to go to the Pokemon League and re-challenge it over and over again to level up all of these Pokemon so that they could evolve into their final forms like Melmetal and everything else under the sun. And because we were already here, I also knew that I had to take on all three of the different tournaments: Title Defense, the Galar Tournament, and the World Tournament. The Title Defense was incredibly easy as our most notable opponent was Rayhan, who got destroyed by my level 99 Cinderace. Only one more level and we have a level 100. So after I got put into the Hall of Fame again, it was time for the Galar Tournament. Here we had to go against Alana in our first round, which is one of the gym leaders of the Isle of Armor. She was defeated pretty easily by close combats of Zacian, considering she uses normal types. And in this battle, Ibrahimovic also reached level 100, which means another challenge crossed off my list. He then proceeded to sweep my next opponent B and her fighting types as well. We also defeated our rival Marnie in the semifinals before going up against Melody in the finals, and ice types are always going to be easy for us, and with that we have immediately gotten our very first Galar Tournament win. Now there is only one more standing in our way, the World Tournament, where we face champions from across the world. In our first round, we fight Kalo's legend and Ash's girlfriend Serena, and show her that she should be with my character instead of Ash. Once she and her Mega Absol are defeated, it's on to another one of Ash's legendary partners, Brock and his trusty Frying Pan. So we turn all of his rocks into rubble and move on to the next round. Here we face one of the most respected champions the world has ever seen, Cynthia. And even though her team was level 100, it was nothing my Zacian and Eternatus couldn't handle. Legendary spamming does work sometimes, keep that in mind. When we face our final opponent, the champion of the Unova region, Iris. She obviously specializes in dragon types, and when you have a fairy type legendary with a +1 attack boost on your side, she gets incredibly easy. And if there's something he couldn't handle, his brother Zamazenta would do the trick too. Once Iris bites the dust, we have officially defeated the World Tournament and crossed off yet another challenge of our bucket list. But there is one more Pokemon I need, and you're never going to guess which one it is, as it's incredibly obscure and rare and hasn't been seen by the world all that often. It has its own movie though, because it's Zarude, and is by far the hardest to obtain. You see, the creator of this ROM hack has made a battle tower with all of his contributors and friends in it. They all get to send in their favorite teams, whether they are competitive or not, you're going to have to face them. There's around 20 of these teams, and when you finally get to the end of this gauntlet, you get to face the champion and the creator, PCL. His team consists of an Electivire that we close combat, a Gigantamax Rillaboom, who's even able to take out my Zacian because he started spamming full restores. Ibrahimovic then deals with it by using Pyro Ball, and Eternatus takes out the Lord of the Environment Zygarde with a Dynamax Cannon. The same goes for his Mega Blastoise, and the final two Pokemon, Gardevoir and Heracross, both get destroyed by Zamazenta's Iron Heads. Upon defeat, he grants you the Rogue Monkey Pokemon Zarude, and with that, not only is our Pokédex complete, but also our entire journey through Pokemon Sword and Shield Ultimate. I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed playing through this ROM hack and experiencing Sword and Shield in a GBA format. I would highly recommend to try this challenge yourself, as there is now an updated version of this ROM hack as well, with better graphics and more quality of life features. But that's something you're going to have to do yourself, because I'm already working on the next project. I want to thank all of you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.